Four, three, two. Hello, welcome back, finally, to the Rock Top 5. I'm sorry it took so long to get a second one going, but I've been unavoidably detained. It's June 14th, 2025, and today we are going to do the top 5 greatest albums of all time. It's an argument that the whole world can jump on. And if you want to, when this is put up online, you put your top 5 if you have an argument. Don't tell me I'm wrong until you have an argument. So you put yours up when this is over, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of non-agreements. Anyway, before we get to it, let's do what we usually do. Let's see what's going on in the rock news. I mean, this week has just been as dismal as you could possibly get in the rock world. We lost 2 giants. First, Sly Stone. My God. What do you say? He's a pioneer of funk, pioneer of everything. He was a DJ, then he became Sly Stone with the Sly and the Family Stone, a huge influence on me, a huge influence on the Fearless. I remember being a teenager, playing guitar to Family Affair, and the whole There's a Riot going on, trying to figure out those riffs. I Want to Take You Higher. Yeah, that's a rough one. He was a little messy towards the end there, we all know. Crazy Stories, that documentary by Questlove is out. I suggest you go watch that. That was great. And yeah, that was a rough one. But, to live to 82 and live a life like that, that's pretty good. So, rest in peace, Sly. And then 2 days later, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys dies. Another pioneer. Another guy who, as you'll see from this list coming up, was a pioneer in making the album the defining listening medium. So we went from the single, and then the album became something. You listen to the whole album as one, instead of just having a couple of singles and then all filler. That's what it used to be. And the single, the one song, was bigger. But with a certain album that was Brian Wilson's masterpiece, that all changed, which we'll find out later. But once again, the sound of America, the sound of the beach, the sound of summer. That was the Beach Boys, the harmonies, which once again, the Fearless, forget it. Huge influence. It's rough. 82 also. Another guy who went through a lot of crazy stuff. Mental issues, drugs, everything. Came out on the other end. Was a little wonky, but hey, whatever. To make it to 82 and have a life like that, just like Sly Stone. Very, one and the same. Very one and the same. What else in the news? Roger Daltrey. Roger Daltrey got knighted. Oh, by King Charles. Look at me, I'm King Charles. I mean, please. Does he need to be knighted? Is he a knight? Is he going off with the big thing and the horse and the crap? No. I mean, come on. Just go sing some Who songs and call it a day. I think that's enough. I mean, it's already, they're hobbling out there. I mean, they don't even want to be there. Pete Townsend made it known that he just goes there because the money's good, obviously. But I'll go see him. We'll see what happens. And then Black Sabbath. In 3 weeks, the final end of whatever it's called, Black Sabbath. They're going to wheel Ozzy out there in some bat-looking wheelchair, and he's going to be shaking, and it's going to be terrible. Like, this guy can't perform. I don't even know what they're going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. I just see disaster. But besides the end disaster, there's a ton of metal bands that's going to be great. So we got Alice in Chains, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. I mean, it's a star-studded affair. And it's going to be on pay-per-view, but I'm sure it'll be on YouTube. So just wait till the sets are over, and I'm sure that somebody will put them up there. Don't go spending $30 in this day and age. Please, really? I think that's it for the news. So, let's get to the top 5 greatest albums of all time. Starting with number 5. Now, let me just put this disclaimer out there. When I say the greatest albums of all time, I mean everybody in the world can connect. Whether you like music, whether you like the genre of music, it's got all killer, no filler. Every song is great. Every song is a possible single. Just the whole experience is something that millions and millions can connect with. And plus, some of these albums are pioneering in the genre of how they were made, the studio, the experimenting, the production. You'll see. And I think you will agree with me that these are pretty close to universally thought of as the top 5 greatest albums of all time. So, without further ado, let's start with number 5. Number 5 changed the world. Let's face it, this was the last great rock genre to come out. This started a new movement, just like there was psychedelic and punk and disco and new wave. Grunge began with Nevermind from Nirvana. Really put it to the forefront. Let's not say began, because I'll get a lot of crap for that too. I know how it goes. But Nevermind was the universal record of a new movement, a new genre in rock. Because rock in 1991 was the biggest genre still. Rap was creeping up and pop is pop. But remember MTV? Week in rock, day in rock, year in rock. That's what it was. Rock was the medium. It was what everyone measured all other music to. And Nevermind, on September 24th, 1991, was released by Nirvana. And that album changed everything. The hair metal, the haircuts were coming out of the woodwork. Everyone was putting on a flannel and starting garage bands and reverting to the way it was in the late 60s. And I thought it was pretty damn cool. Plus, there was punk in there. Punk and grunge kind of go hand in hand. Thumbing your nose at authority and, running away from home and all that. You know how it goes when you're growing up. You think you're a tough guy. You think you're going to be a rebel. Nevermind was that record. And everybody in school started a band and blast Smells Like Teen Spirit. I mean, the one song, Smells Like Teen Spirit, it came out. It really changed the world in a week. I witnessed it, so I can say I witnessed it. And it was great. Let me tell you, it was great. I knew back then when I was little that music had no staying power. I don't like calling it hair metal either. But that type of that rock in the mid to late 80s, it was misogynistic garbage at the end of the day. Yeah, the players were great, and some of the songs are catchy, but it had no staying power. They're not timeless. They're only timeless for the people who were young in that era. Nirvana had to happen. Nirvana had to stomp on that bug. And that's what they did. And they brought some other great bands with them. But it was that album, Nevermind, their second album, it really is all killer, no filler. From the beginning, with Smells Like Teen Spirit, to that morose something in the way at the end. Kurt Cobain had a crappy guitar laid on his back on the couch, and that's how he recorded it. I think that's awesome. And that goes to show you, because that song is huge. It was in a Batman movie. And look how it was recorded. Such punk rock style. Anti-establishment. And that was Kurt Cobain. And of course, blew his brains out 3 years later, and then the whole thing went to crap. Because if you think about it, and I say this all the time, the day Kurt Cobain blew his brains out, he took rock and roll with him. That's it. That's when rock died. Because since then, yeah, there was the little garage revival with the Strokes and the White Stripes, and there's Coldplay and Kings of Leon. But as great and original as those bands are, there was never a new big movement like the grunge movement. And now, there's nothing. I mean, kids could care less about listening to a whole album, let alone 3 seconds of a song in the rock genre. So, I won't even go there. But I think number 5 really is the one, Nevermind. It really has universal appeal. Because it is catchy, as heavy as it is. It's produced amazingly by Butch Vig. And, I think a lot of us will agree that 5, Nevermind's a good one there at 5. Which brings us to number 4. Number 4 is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Just a complete turnaround for Marvin Gaye, who was kind of like a soulful crooner of Motown. But he started, the protest eras, because the Vietnam stuff started creeping into him, and he just couldn't not let loose. And I think, the owner of Motown, Berry Gordy, was very wary of him making this record. But, as time goes on, I'm sure he made the right decision by allowing it. Because what's going on is just an amazing masterpiece. It's just like one big dream. And like a stone dream of R&B, and just it gets calm and it gets funky and then it gets creepy and there's a message and it's amazing and it's a masterpiece, and you listen to it in headphones, and Marvin Gaye nailed it with this one. He nailed it. It's unlike anything he ever did, because after this then he makes Let's Get It On, which is like an R&B take off your panties type of record, which this album is not in the slightest. It's about love, but it's about universal love, and it's about the children, and it's about the war, and it's amazing. And on Rolling Stone's revamped list of the top 500, this is at number 1, which I understand, but you can't really take things and change them around like that. I don't know. I think with the new breed of journalism, that they kind of all said, yeah, what's going on? And that the number 1, the previous album, was a little outdated. I don't know how that worked over there, but I was a little perturbed at that. But that's another story for another time. Which brings us to number 3. Thriller by Michael Jackson. Just because it's the biggest selling album in the world does not mean that it should be at the top of this list or in the top 5. But if you really think about it, you want to talk about universal appeal. You want to talk about production. You want to talk about a dance record playing in the clubs across the world. And a phenomenon. Michael Jackson was like a phenomenon. He was all over the place those 3 years. And then the video for Thriller, which, I had to run and hide in the basement of all places, was the greatest. Still the best video ever made. Every song is a single. Every song could be a hit. Every song is great. The Quincy Jones production, it's so slick and perfect and funky. And you got Toto as the backup band. And Eddie Van Halen on Beat It, playing the solo. It was the epitome of the 80s. It was everything raveled into one. And everybody can like that album. Everybody. The personal stuff of Michael Jackson set aside, we all know he's got his trials and tribulations and death here, and it's pretty nasty, and it's if it's the truth, it's disgraceful. But you got to set apart the music from the man, and this music is timeless. And Thriller is the biggest selling album of all time. So who is anybody to disagree? Go put it on. You can't tell me it's not incredible. It really is. Number 2. Perfect Timing. The man who basically owns this album in theory, even though it's by the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. Brian Wilson's masterpiece. The first real album where the album means something as a whole and doesn't just have a couple of singles and then just a lot of filler, which was most of the Beach Boys albums up to this point. And the harmonies, the orchestration, the Wrecking Crew as the band, everybody came in. It launched a whole era. It launched really the psychedelic era commercially. There was a little spar with the Beatles. They made Rubber Soul, which is really the first great all killer no filler album. But Pet Sounds takes it up a notch, especially with the harmonies. And the funny part is that the album that the Beatles said, this was, they couldn't believe how great this album. They loved Pet Sounds. It's a known fact. And when it was played to them in England, like Keith Moon and whoever, and Brian Johnson, right? They sent him over there. Well, what did the Beatles come up with? 2 months later, it came out, August 5th, 1966. It came out with my number 1 on the top 5 greatest albums of all time. Revolver from the Beatles, the greatest album of all time. Why is it the greatest album of all time? Why isn't the next album they made, Sgt. Pepper, which is widely regarded as the greatest album of all time, the greatest album of all time? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because Revolver came out after they heard Pet Sounds, and they knew they had to knock it out of the park, and boy, did they knock it out of the park. First of all, it starts with a George Harrison song, which never happened until then. Taxman. Perfect opener, funky tune. McCartney plays the solo. But every song on this album is something different. It's like a buffet of music. Taxman. Then you got Eleanor Rigby, which is all orchestra. Then you got I'm Only Sleeping, which is like a creepy, vibe-orientated, psychedelic tune. Then Love You Too, which is Indian flavored. The second one from Norwegian Wood had a little bit of the sitar, but this is full on from Harrison. This is totally, I am into this whole thing, the meditation and the Indian music and the culture. He just dove right in. And there's rock, and there's pop with Good Day Sunshine, and then the album ends with arguably the greatest psychedelic song of all time, Tomorrow Never Knows. It was unlike anything the Beatles have ever done. The world was shocked. It is a masterpiece. I mean, they made him sound like the Dalai Lama on a mountain. That's what he wanted, and it sounds like it. There's backward loops, which was never in pop music. All the things that people took to make records are from Revolver. Revolver is the catalyst. Revolver is the one that made you realize, okay, I can make a whole album of great songs. And that's the album. Sgt. Pepper to me is not number one because Sgt. Pepper is its own little thing. It's just part of that little psychedelic movement. Yeah, it takes Revolver on to a rocket ship, but it's not. Revolver was first. Revolver is more universal to me. If you don't like drugs or psychedelic music or just, that whole culture, you're not going to like Sgt. Pepper. But Revolver, you'll find something. Revolver has something for everybody. Now, the U.S. version was chopped up a little bit. And normally, like Rubber Soul, I like the U.S. versions. But this, they killed it. They took off I'm Only Sleeping. I mean, don't get the American version. But that's it. Revolver by the Beatles is the greatest album of all time. I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't think anybody's going to make any more amazing albums that could even go in the ring with that one. And there are incredible records out there. Go dig. Go read the lists. Go to your record store. Just the cover alone. You know how many albums I bought because the cover alone was awesome? And then their album turned out to be great. But that's it. Revolver by the Beatles. So let's recap. At 5, we had Nevermind by Nirvana, 1991. At 4, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, 1971. Number 3, Thriller by Michael Jackson, 1982. Number 2, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, 1966. And number 1, Revolver by the Beatles, 1966. That's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed. I want you to go discuss. I want you to go think hard. What are my favorite albums? It does not have to be rock. It does not have to be any popular genre. You can give me Croatian folk records or, anything. But give me your top 5. Jot it down when I put this up on the YouTube. And I'll get back to you with another Rock Top 5. And what's the next one going to be? Well, I'm not going to give it away, but I'll give it away when it's time for filming time. I'll put a message up online or something.